And we didn't have to wait long for Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump's reaction in a phone interview. He told our Robert Costa that the President Biden's withdrawal from the race is, quote, a shock to the country. Donald Trump also lashed out on social media, writing that Biden is, quote, not fit to serve and never was. For more analysis on this moment, let's bring in Chief Election and Campaign Correspondent Robert Costa and Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan. Robert, what did Donald Trump say?
Former President Donald Trump spoke with me on the phone. He said that this does not change his view of the race, that he is still going to run a campaign against the Biden administration. When I asked him, are you willing and ready to debate Vice President Harris? He said he is not at this moment because he is not sure yet whether she will ultimately emerge as the Democratic nominee. He said he is prepared to have effectively a political war against Vice President Harris or whomever emerges as the Democratic nominee. He's not pulling back at all. He said this is a shock to the country. He also believes that Democrats forced President Biden out. So he was stirring the pot a bit in our conversation about how President Biden ultimately made this decision. And many Biden confidants tell me this was a painful one for the president.
Margaret Brennan, we still don't know who the Democratic nominee will be, but the president, Joe Biden, has thrown his support behind the vice president. The Clintons have thrown their support. Quickly, a number of Democratic lawmakers are speaking out on her behalf. But this is a critical period the next week. What does she need to do?
Well, besides just being able to order merchandise and get the signs ready and get all the mechanics of the campaign up, she needs to make a selection that will help to offset whatever concerns there may be about, once again, having a woman at the top of the ticket, Hillary Clinton, fresh in the minds of many Democrats. And they see that Democrats have had a problem with attracting votes from men in particular. That is front of mind. There is also front of mind for many Democrats urging Harris to focus on key states like Pennsylvania and Arizona, places where they could make a key selection for a vice presidential running mate for her. That is the first really big decision she needs to make by the end of the month, I'm told. And from some of my Democratic sources who point out you need energy and you need unity to win a campaign. They now have energy, and they need to see that unity around a ticket.
If she becomes the Democratic nominee, how does this change the debate about the substance of this contest, about the policy issues? What changes?
Well, you have generational shift, by the way. We no longer have an 81-year-old Democrat running against a 78-year-old Republican. You have a 59-year-old woman, the first woman of color. That changes. That might excite some of those young voters that Democrats were concerned about because they saw that lack of energy and enthusiasm for Joe Biden on some key issues that were weaknesses for him. As you heard one of our analysts there say, the disruptor, the war in Gaza, it resonated not just with Arab Americans and Muslim Americans. It was resonant with Black Americans in particular. It was a negative for the president that he didn't come out and express more empathy. She has. She's been very keyed in on that, specifically when she goes and speaks to young voters. The issue of reproductive health care has been the strength. Joe Biden has really leaned on her to be the messenger, not just because of her gender, but because she is very comfortable being a prosecutor and arguing this is not just about abortion. As she would argue, this put your own personal religious beliefs. You don't have to sacrifice them. This is also about IVF. It is about safe health care for women. She's going to prosecute that case, and Democrats think that is a winning issue for them.
But she can't do it just yet. My top Democratic sources say she has a lot to do between now and the convention. Can she actually unify the Democratic Party? We have seen a cascade of Democrats endorse her today, but not everybody is endorsing Vice President Harris at this moment. Senator Peter Welch of Vermont told you on CBS that he wants to see what he called a truncated process. There's also a lot of risk with vetting a vice presidential nominee in such a short window. Think about 1972 when Senator George McGovern had Thomas Eagleton on the ticket. Eagleton had to drop off because he wasn't fully vetted. Democrats are nervous. Will Vice President Harris have the political room to assert herself, or will President Biden be hovering over her shoulder at every turn? Democrats now are in a vulnerable position, but also they feel a positive position to turn it back to the issues they want to talk about. But they need to really establish her as the nominee before she can actually take on Trump and make that case.
And this breaking news just in: the popular governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro, endorsing Kamala Harris. He is popular among Republican voters, Trump supporters in that state. We have so much more to cover. This is a political first. No sitting American president has dropped out of the race this late in the election cycle, and voters are already weighing in on President Biden's decision to step aside.